Okay, so for the closing remarks, we have MEP Josep Maria Terricabras from Catalonia. So he's at home, and his political party is one of the sponsors of this event. So we thank him for this as well, and for like in his office as well, for helping us facilitate all the activities here in Barcelona. UNPO already met Mr. Terricabras also at our General Assembly last June in Edinburgh, where I remember personally that his speech was very, very interesting and motivating, so I'm counting on the same this time. Mr. Terricabras, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. You count probably on to my Thank you. Well, dear friends, it's an honor to co-host and conclude this meeting. I'm not going to summarize anything because everything was said, and the Catalan case was extremely well represented by Elisenda Palucia. Well, in my former life, I say it not in a philosophical way, but in my former activity before I went to the parliament, I was professor of philosophy at the university. So you will probably understand, and you will allow myself a short reflection on the main topic of this and of all our gatherings, namely the right to decide. In fact, some time ago I was thinking of that. What do people know what's a right? Because we always talk about rights, and no one knows exactly. So that then I described a way to identify a right. Take an arch. If on one side of the arch there's a right, it means that on the other side of the arch there has to be an obligation by someone else to accomplish a right. On the contrary, you can criticize him. If there is no obligation, there is no right. At least not acknowledge a right. For instance, I have the right of becoming health assistance. Of course, on the other side of the arch, family, the state, or some organization will assist you when you are in care. But if someone says, I have the right of not being ill, well, you don't. There is no one who has the obligation of assuring you that you are not going to be ill. Or, and now I'm going to talk against the American Constitution. I'm sorry about that. But I'm the right of being happy. No, you wish to be happy. Of course, you want to be happy. So do I. Everyone wants. There are a lot of things behind the rights, wishes and desires and goals and everything. In fact, love is far more than a right, and no one has the right to be loved, because no one has the obligation to love. So, in order to see this, I think that's important. The right to decide is a right which implies the obligation of other people to accomplish that right, to help you, that you can accomplish that right. I do think that in the last 600 years, at least, individual personal autonomy has become a fundamental principle of society. And we have understood that no one is superior to anyone else. That freedom to choose is a fundamental freedom, individually, but also collectively. Because when we unite several people individually, we have a group which proclaims the right of the whole group to take decisions. But then I would add something which is probably not very usual, but it's very useful. Namely, what do we understand by identity? Because there is, even in Catalonia, there's sometimes a vision of identity which is extremely rigid and strict, as if identity was something concerning absolute unity of thinking, of living, of everything. No, I would prefer to talk not that much about identity, but about identification. And I use a little bit the idea of a philosopher, probably you know him, but it's one of my dearest philosophers, Ludwig Wittgenstein. He came from Austria. And he said that that's like we have a family resemblance. A family resemblance. In a family, we are not exactly like one the other, but we belong to the same family, with the differences. So it's a kind of identity which implies also differences and liberty, etc. On the contrary, we have just copies and stupid groups of people which are absolutely equal or which pretend to be so. In that sense, I would say that in plural societies, our rights are defended as a group like in a family, not because we are absolutely equal in the group, but because we identify ourselves in the group, with the group, through the group. And that's, I think, extremely important. Allow me to say just a word as the actual situation of Europe. A member of the European Parliament. At the very beginning of this meeting, Mr. Marino Busdahin referred to that. I'm afraid that the problems we have in Europe, the structural problems we have in Europe, are due to the fact that, please don't misunderstand me, that the European Union doesn't exist. It's in the making. What we have now is a club of states, which is a different matter, completely different matter. When those states take a decision, then after taking the decision, they say, well, okay, we've taken the decision, but everyone will do what it wants. Well, that's not a union. That's not a family. That's simply, there are some partners interested in business, in different affairs, but not acting as a union, acting just as a club. And that's a tragedy that we have to overcome this, absolutely. But in order to overcome this, we need self-esteem, we need courage, we have to show that we do this with peaceful means, that we have democratic methods. And my question to the European Union is always this: do you just accept new countries into the international community after a war or after having done violence? But that's absolutely terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Well, the only exception is Czechoslovakia. When they decided the independence, that's an extremely funny case, extremely funny, because both countries went for elections, and one decided to a certain autonomy, the other decided a more tight link with the other part. They were not in agreement, and suddenly they said, well, why not independence for both? But that's not what people had voted at all. That was the decision of them. It's better that way, and it's probably better for them. But that's a funny historical case, Czechoslovakia. But the ancient world decides that you can be independent if you fight, if you win, if you have a lot of killed people, of disgrace, of terrible suffering. That's not the new world of democracy and free will. And that's what in Catalonia we try to show, that you can go through new paths because you use a new way, a new thinking, a modern and peaceful way of proceeding. And that's also my problem. Do we have to make suffer each other? Do we accept that our destiny in life is to produce suffering to each other? Venerable Wangshan referred to this too. No, I don't think so. And as Ambassador Yang said also, never is too late. Never is too late. We have to try and to try again. The problem in Spain, precisely, when you oppose a freedom way to independence by Catalans and the Spanish imposition, and repeatedly saying no, it concludes that you will be hostage forever. Hostage forever. Because you try, they say no, not that way. Oh, that's absolutely terrible. That's unacceptable. That it would be unacceptable for my kids home. No, you cannot go out. You cannot decide your destiny. No, you cannot. You can. Well, but we are brave children, and we are so nice. No, you are very nice, but I've got power. That's the position, if you allow me, that I quote a big now German sociologist, Max Weber. Max Weber made a great distinction between authority and power. Authority is what is recognized by others. The authority is that parents have authority, home usually have authority, or in a school, in a school system, teachers have authority, and it's accepted by pupils, by children. Power is something different. Power is not usually recognized, it's just accepted because you impose it. You impose it. And you have to impose it in a more difficult and terrible way each time when people don't accept that power. I think that the struggle is a struggle of mentalities, a struggle of ideas. It's a struggle between authority and power. We want to accept authority, we want to produce authority, and we have in front of us, we had examples this morning, a lot of examples, we have in front of us power. Power which doesn't recognize authority at all, which just recognizes power. Well, but since it's so difficult, that's why we have to keep on fighting and fighting again. Fighting is perhaps not the best word when I'm talking about peace, but you understand me. Trying and trying again, because we want that world be and become a better world, where people can decide what they wish, that we don't produce suffering to others. In fact, we all will die. I hope someday. I hope So, in the meantime, it would be good to make nice things. It would be good to live in peace with others. But power, economic power, political power, sometimes religious power, or cultural, supposed cultural power, impose themselves. We are on the side of those who accept authority, who accept freedom, who accept ideas, diversity, plurality, and who are against imposition, against repression, against power. Please keep united, because I'm sure that the end will be a very good, a very positive end for all of us. The old world is almost over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tericabras. I was not disappointed. So thanks again for this and a speech full of energy and of inspiration for everyone. And then to close this event, UNPO's president, Mr. Boladai, who is also a representative of one of our member communities, the Baluch people of Iran, will say a few words. Thank you, Mr. Boladai.
Thank you very much. Well, of course, it's very difficult to talk after Mr. to show the same energy and same understanding of the world and history and philosophy and everything at the same time. So it's very difficult, but it's, I would like to thank all the speakers and particularly those that came from far away to share their views with us today here. And of course, the discussion as it was on the self-determination, as you can see, self-determination is a parent for all continents of the world. You can see people coming from the Washington to the US, which considered itself one of the first democracies in the world, or the first republic in the world, is still the problem of representation. We have currently people who voted for independence, both in Catalonia and Kurdistan were represented here, and both so what's happened with the authority, as was mentioned here, because they didn't have power, and that's what we have to work with. This is very important, and of course, well, Mr. Tericabras, I think once again need to be thanked for helping us to come here. Also, the Simon organization, and of course, it's you made it possible for the UNPO to hold its presidency here, and also this conference. Of course, as we can see, this is with self-determination is not something that we just can say it's over. I don't think it will be over forever. As we humans exist, self-determination and the right to decide and to choose will be one of our problems for a long time to come. I'm not sure when we can come to the conclusion that the struggle for self-determination is ended today. But anyway, it's something that we could understand it here, as I was mentioned here. There are people are asking for that peacefully, which can see it is not going to happen for them. And if you have power, then it's going to happen. And that's why it's always very important for us as nationalities were suppressed, nationalities were denied their right, to make sure that we have international allies. And here comes this international concept of the self-determination, because self-determination has come to see itself historically also, because it has been something for the majority of the people, for the people of the world, or citizens of the world, however one can define the situation. When we define it, so it means that it should be something that you have to be accepted, because self-determination itself derives from the situation where others recognize your self-determination. If they don't recognize it, if they do not accept it, as we have seen even in today's world, one country with a better democratic tradition like Spain, and one country like Iraq is just struggling to be a democracy, or at least to stay as a country, have the same problem. And you can see it in a region which we could say that Middle East is the region which is less democratic developed in the whole world, compared to the Europe, which is much more democratically evolved and developed. But still, the self-determination is in the same way, treated in the same way, and in the same fashion. So I think from what we have here today is what we have to take from for us from here is that we have to work together and struggle together. And to work together, and it's also helping each other and supporting each other, at the same time building the common groups or common causes to go ahead with our cause and to not stop it here, to talk with the different communities from the, I don't know, could be the European Union to the United Nations or to other countries, and to make sure that the mechanism of the self-determination is we have it in the United Nations, enshrined in the United Nations. It was one of the founding principles why the United Nations came to exist also. At the beginning, before the United Nations take shape after the Second World War, one of those was the self-determination or the right of the communities. That struggle should continue and come back, because as the world is changing, the nation state as it is, it's under question itself. So for many of us, maybe the way to go ahead could be different ways, but we have to explore those things and to make sure that if people decide whatever way they want to live, that should be respected, and this should be a mechanism within the United Nations and international law, and those should be accepted. Particularly if they happen like what's happening here in Catalonia. People peacefully wanted to demonstrate, but we see that's not possible even in a democratic country. And it's very sad to say that today we have a political prisoner here in Spain today also. And we have to say that after the election in the 1st October, some of the advocates of the people's self-determination here in Catalonia are in jail, such as Oriol Junqueras. He remained political figure of the ERC, and also Jordi Cuesta, president of Omanian culture, or Jordi Sanchez, ex-president of ANC. So this shows also that the struggle for self-determination is not an easy struggle. It's never have been, and it would not be. If there are some exceptions, there are only exceptions. So we have to accept some prices to pay for our self-determination, and right to exist, and right to choose our way of living, right to keep our language, right to be, have our faiths. I mean, for many people that were speaking here, we could see two symbols of two faiths, Islam and Buddhism. Both of them here, both of them are asking for the same thing: self-determination, respect for their national sovereignty, and right to exist as they want. And we hope that we work together, and of course UNPO is the place that we all have come together to work for that one, and of course other NGOs that exist around the world. We all have to work together to see that freedom of the people are respected, and freedom of individual and freedom of community, as you mentioned, both of those are respected and are not something just only respected, but also implemented and realized, and we have to live with those. I thank you very much again for all you coming here, and I hope everybody have a good continued day. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolazai. I think it was a very good point to remember those who are in prison here in Catalonia, but they were put in prison by Spain, which supposedly is a democratic Western power, as you're reminded. So thank you for reminding us of this point as well. This concludes our event, unless there is anyone who still wishes. Yes, there is a question there in the back.
Well, actually, it's not a question. I just want to add on.
Sorry, can you just wait for the microphone?
Sure.
I think it's on. Dr. Rahman from Southern Transition of Yemen. It's not a question, actually. It's just I want to add to your knowledge that there is among other nations that are willing for their independence and autodetermination. There is Yemen, South Yemen. It is very interesting to share to us your experiences today, and I'm really very happy to be with you. Tomorrow we are supporting our membership to the UNPO, and I would just to let you know that it is for us very important to share your experience, each experience, and we are really willing to be a member of the UNPO, as I maybe can call, United Unrepresented Nations. Together we make force, and together we make strength. So tomorrow we will be presenting our candidate to UNPO at Casa de TV. My colleagues will join me tomorrow, and we will be there. So we need all your support, and we will be really happy to be a member of your honorable organization. So thank you for your all. Gracias a todos.
Thank you very much. And I know there is another question here in the second row. And please keep it short because we're already over time. Sorry to mention.
Faré les meves preguntes en català. Voldria fer uns quants comentaris o preguntes en relació a la intervenció del senyor Terricabras. El tema de la identitat, a mi és un tema que m'interessa especialment, que fa anys que me'l plantejo, i que penso que des del punt de vista de Catalunya hi tenim un problema, perquè confonem identitat amb identitarisme. I per mi, si no es té identitat, no s'és res. Difícilment podem reclamar un dret si no som ningú. Tant jo crec que sí que hi ha una identitat catalana, que no vol dir identitarisme, que no vol dir menysprear les altres identitats. Dit això, em sembla que els catalans hem d'estar disposats a assumir aquesta realitat. Els catalans tenim una identitat, per això som una nació, i aquesta identitat no la podem confondre amb una altra identitat que té tot el dret d'existir, però que no és la nostra, que és la identitat espanyola. En segon lloc, dic que el pacifisme, o sigui, en Terricabras deies molt bé que perquè hi hagi un dret hi ha d'haver, o sigui, si hi ha un dret hi ha un deure, però llavors aquí tenim un problema. Els catalans i tots els pobles que estan aquí representats consideren, amb tota la raó des d'un punt de vista, que tenen un dret, el dret a l'autodeterminació, però resulta que aquest dret no ens el reconeix ningú. Per tant, aquí tenim un problema greu. I estem disposats, almenys a Catalunya, a defensar aquest dret, se'ns reconegui o no se'ns reconegui, però estem disposats a defensar-lo perquè estem segurs que el tenim, aquest dret. I estem disposats, no estem disposats a matar per aquest dret. No estarem mai disposats a matar, però potser haurem d'estar disposats a morir si el volem defensar d'alguna manera, perquè potser ningú ens el regalarà. Gràcies.
Of course, just two words. I start with the second thing. Of course, everyone in the world recognizes the self-determination. You say no one recognizes it. No, in Spain they don't. And that's why it's so risible and funny and stupid. They don't. Everyone in the world, the international scale and sphere, everyone recognizes this right. So it's okay. But we have to achieve that Spain also recognizes this, like the laws of nature and all these things, or evolutionism. There are people which don't recognize the evolution in species. I'm sorry for them, because everyone does. So I'm sorry for Spaniards, they don't recognize that. That's terrible for us. But everyone in the world recognizes self-determination. Point one.
Not in France.
Not in France.
No.
Well, generally, yeah, for other countries.
Yeah.
No. The problem is that Spain also recognizes self-determination for islands, so and so.
They recognize self-determination in other countries.
Very far away. Yeah. That's. And the first point, I agree with you about identity. I didn't say we had no identity. I was just against the idea of a so close identity that I'm afraid I could be thrown away because you don't think exactly as we think. Oh goodness, no. I accept an identity with freedom, with liberty, like in a family. That's why I mention family. There are many families in the world, of course, and they, in my building. But it doesn't mean that my family should be a family of automats, of people who think exactly like each other. So, of course, there is if you don't accept an open identity, then I wouldn't agree with you. Huh? I accept an open identity, but without confusion with other identities. As I accept my family, which is a variety of members, but no confusion with other families. I know to which family I belong. Of course I do. If not, I would be absolutely silly. Of course I do, but it's an open. My sisters don't think exactly like me, but we belong to the same family. That's extremely important. That was my point.
Thank you again, Mr. Terrecabras. Well, I'm sorry, but the interpreters have already worked overtime, but there will be some time now over coffee if you wish to ask further questions. So to close, I wanted to thank our hosts once again, Siemen, Esquerra Republicana, and Mr. Terrecabras for also co-hosting. The interpreters, Francesca Guim and her colleague who already left, who also accepted to work overtime. And Mr. Bertrana, who also sponsored part of the interpretation, so we thank him for making this possible, since everyone benefited from it. Finally, I would want to thank all the speakers, especially the ones who traveled from far to speak here. And last but not least, our project assistant Alejandro, because he did most of the work, and without him we wouldn't have. So thank you. And if you want, there should be still the coffee, tea, and so on for a few minutes of networking, and then we will have to close.
I wanted to ask you all the speakers to gather for 1 second for a couple of pictures, if that's not a problem.
We have the live stream.